every time. Hello.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's press conference. We'll just head right into questions. So please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and we'll take them as they come in. Troy, you're up first.
Hey, Coach, good to see you as always. Obviously impossible to know the long-term ramifications of Friday's result, but what were some of the immediate benefits of the last couple of days that you've noticed from how things went in Boulder on Friday night?
You know, our guys have been the same. So that's been their strength really is, every day they come in, they bring the same energy and the same focus. So I haven't seen any difference. And that's one of the things that I admire the most about them is they're always the same guys and given the same effort and the same focus, the same intensity.
John?
Coach, we obviously know about Ashton and Alec and the magic they performed. There were other guys too that helped you score 5 touchdowns and a field goal and a half, which is often you don't even get that many possessions in a half. So, but as you looked at the film in the second half, can you remember? And I'm asking you to put you on the spot. A player or two that maybe we're not thinking about because it wasn't on highlight reels. That somebody made a good block. Obviously, it was Colin's sack, but you want to call out maybe 2 or 3 guys that made plays that sprung guys or something that really was unsung as far as what you did in the second half?
I would say, our protection was a lot better in the second half. So he had time to kind of set his feet and get the ball off. And then, defensively, just some great plays in the secondary, great plays up front. I mean, calling off the edge and getting the quarterback on the ground on a blitz, which is hard to do on that guy. He's really athletic. But it was one of those games where, when you're down 29-0, you need everybody to be able to play really well in the second half. And I think the real key was getting the early stops, the defense, getting they went for it on 4th down. So they turned the ball over to us on inside the 40, it was the 30 something, I think, but it gave us a short field. That was, I think, really the key. And then once we got the ball in the end zone and made some plays, we had short fields. Most of the second, either short or really long, right? So we had the short fields and then we had the 99-yard field and the 97-yard field. But I think the short fields, the defense getting the key stops when they needed to were really the biggest factor.
Ben?
Obviously, since you beat them, you showed that you were on Colorado's level, and that night you were better, obviously. But just kind of looking back at that first half, what went wrong? Why did you guys get down by so much? And what are some things you guys could learn from just not getting down by so much? Just kind of what went wrong in that first half that allowed Colorado to build such a huge lead there?
Yeah. Early execution was not great on offense or defense in the first half. And so, and then they made us pay, right? So, and in the second half, it was really just the complete opposite. So when you have an explosive team, especially like them on offense, where they've got a lot of speed and the quarterback can hurt you in a lot of different ways. If you give him too much time, you let him get outside the pocket, he's gonna really hurt you. And they took advantage of those things. And then we didn't really sustain anything in the first half. So our defense was on the field the entire time. And so it wasn't one thing. It's just we didn't execute it at a high level on the offensive side of the ball or the defense side of the ball. And then we were able to time a possession in the second half. I think we had the ball most of the time. So it's always just a key. It's not a big speech. It's not a huge adjustment. It's always the little things done over and over again. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is there was no bickering on the sidelines. There was no people panicking in any respect. And so when you have that kind of attitude, mentality, you just keep playing and then all of a sudden something happens and you find yourself in the game. And so it wasn't anything major. It's just the little things. And once you get a little momentum going, and some confidence, you got a chance.
Kevin?
Coach, can you kind of talk about Ashton's performance? It kind of seemed like it was his most complete performance, throwing and running this whole season. And so can you kind of touch on his growth that you've seen, and if there was like a significant moment where you were like, this is clicking today?
Yeah, I think, he made a lot of good throws with some guys in his face. And the other thing that he did, I think that goes unnoticed, is that he avoided a lot of sacks by throwing the ball away. And, a lot of times, when people look at sack numbers on teams, they always blame the offensive line and all that. And they're a big part of it. There's no question. But a lot of it is a quarterback. If the quarterback can get rid of the ball, and sometimes just throwing the ball away is the biggest play of the game. And he had probably 6 or 7 of those where he just didn't take a sack, especially on the drive to tie it up at the end when they blitzed us a couple of times, dialed some blitzes up in our 2-minute or tempo, that he could have easily taken a sack, and he didn't, was able to throw the ball away. So which he's pretty good at doing that. So yeah, his, the really great thing about Ash is he's really the same guy. Even if he makes a mistake, you never see somebody that seems overwhelmed or goes in the tank. He just kind of stays the same. And so, and our team, has, especially in that game, played that way. So, yeah, it was great to see his growth. And, Justin, although he didn't play as much, he had some big runs for us in the second half that were really big plays. So I was really proud of how he continued to contribute and compete throughout the second half.
Troy?
Well, kind of along those lines, you've mentioned in this setting before that you would like to see some separation in the quarterback position, and you'd like to see it specifically in games. Did you see enough separation on Friday night, perhaps, for the quarterback position there?
Well, I mean, certainly he played really well, on Friday night, and Justin did some good things. So, really from week to week, we're trying to find the best way to give ourselves a chance to win the football game, which is what every coach is doing. So Ash played really well and did some great things, but I still have a lot of confidence in Justin, and there's things that Justin does really well and Ash does really well. So, we'll continue to have both of them ready to go.
John?
Coach, Alec, 294 yards, all in one half, sets a Stanford record. As you know, there've been a lot of great receivers, a lot of great throwers. Game number 6 for you. I'm wondering, was this a game where you've seen Alec enough in practice, I knew he had this in him, or you kind of learn things about this young man that, wow, I mean, he's doing things even I didn't know. I mean, he was out running secondaries and turning 97-yard slants into touchdowns. Kind of tell us about your use of him in the second half, and maybe what you learned about him, or maybe you knew everything and this was just him waiting to bust out.
A little bit of both, John. So, we have a technology called Catapult that is a GPS unit that goes on each one of our players. It tracks a lot of different things like overload and force and change of direction and all those things, really to keep them, make sure they're healthy and they're balanced in terms of their running style. And it also tracks their miles per hour and how fast they are. So both he and Bryce are the 2 fastest guys on the offense. And so we knew he was fast. Now, there's being fast and then there's playing fast. And he played really fast on Friday night. So we always knew he had the potential to do that. It's a lot of it's just confidence, the long post route that he, kind of misplayed and didn't catch. That sometimes is just confidence in having done it a number of times and making that play. Because obviously he didn't make that play. He just didn't make it right there. But turning around and coming back, I don't know that he had a catch in the first half. And then doing what he did in the second half. And a lot of it, I think, was just confidence. So yeah, we knew he had the ability, but there's always guys that you coach throughout your career that have that potential and don't necessarily ever fulfill the potential. And so you sure hope it happens. It certainly happened on Friday night, and confidence is pretty close to the most important thing that you're going to have in anything you do. So this is something that he can build upon, and it's also for our team and for him, and show that you can have kind of a rough start and then come back and turn it around and have a great game, because games never go exactly how you want them to. Even when you win, there's going to be kind of ups and downs. So really proud that he continued to work through those things and showed the competitive greatness that we knew was inside of him.
Ben?
Switching gears from the amazing Miracle in Boulder to this weekend, just thoughts on UCLA, challenges they pose, and what's going to be just general kind of keys to having success against the Bruins on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start off offensively. The quarterback's a very talented guy. He's young, and he's, you see him growing, but lots of ability. They play a couple of quarterbacks, Colin. That guy is incredibly tough, a resilient player. So you got those two guys they're really good, and then Ethan Garbers is another guy that's played. So they got good quarterbacks, explosive running backs. They're a challenge. They've put up a lot of yards and at times points offensively. So they're explosive. Obviously, with Chip Kelly running the offense, they're going to be really well prepared and be dynamic. And then one of the best defensive lines, in our conference for sure. 15 is really good. 11, 12. I mean, they're some of the best pass rushers that we've seen the entire year. They're very multiple in terms of being in pressures and attacking you. So it's a challenge. I mean, not many people no one's been able to run the football on them. Oregon State, probably, who's a really good running team, had a little bit of success, but not entirely dominant at all on the ground game. So they're a challenge. They're a team, obviously, that has great potential, and you've seen an unbelievable team at times. So obviously we got them at home, which is nice, but this is a huge challenge in an incredibly stacked Pac-12, where every week you're going to be playing against a really good team.
Thank you. Kevin?
Coach, I know it's the other side of the ball, but can you kind of talk about the adjustments that Coach April and his staff made on their side of the ball on Friday night? Because they obviously had a rough first half, but then they only gave up one touchdown on the rest of the regulation and then the one in overtime. So obviously a huge change there. Can you talk about the adjustments they made and just what you?
Yeah, I think we executed, first and foremost. Our guys just executed better in the second half. We brought a little bit more pressure, which we knew was going to be important, and getting the guy on the ground, and getting him behind the chains and those things. So I'd say it was really more, the players just did a phenomenal job of really zeroing in and refocusing. Really good leadership on that side of the ball, where they were able to make plays, and we were able to hurry him and get him to the ground and make him get rid of the ball maybe a little quicker than he'd like to. So those were the biggest differences.
Thank you, Kevin. Troy?
Any update on Ben Urosic and John Humphreys at this point?
Yeah, I don't think John will play. Ben is week to week at this point, and hopefully we'll have him, but we'll obviously have two plans if he plays or if he does not play.
Thank you, Troy. John?
Coach, you just touched on it. I mean, talk about the challenges of preparing for maybe multiple quarterbacks from UCLA. I mean, it's been Sanders and Nix and Caleb Williams. Who you were up against in prior weeks, but this week is a little different. You mentioned Schlee. He can be a kind of a punishing runner, and sort of different than more in that regard. But for you as a coach, how is it? What are the challenges when you don't know exactly who's going to be out there?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge, and they're both really talented guys, and then Garbers can play as well. So, with Schlee, he's so physical. He's such a great runner. He's so tough. It's like having a running back that can throw the football in the backfield. So, and then Dante's a really explosive guy as well. So, I think they got both of those guys are very effective. Both of them are really good Pac-12 players. So it's a challenge. I mean, they have lots of weapons that you got to account for. And I think when you have depth at quarterback like that, you're free to run them a little bit more, and you just kind of cut it loose. And I think that's what they've been able to do.
Ben?
Was any of you surprised that Colorado wasn't able to stop Elic a bit more, because it just looked like at times like they knew what was coming, that you guys were going to go to him, and that no matter what, he was going to make a play. I mean, just talk about what it's like having a guy that's so hot. It's like he's on fire on Madden, where he just keep going to the hot guy. Just, was any of you surprised that they weren't able to stop him, or were you just so confident in Elic that you knew he was going to regardless? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is, the progression kind of dictates where the ball's going. But if he's not able to win, you move in your progression. And so there were a number of plays, as you saw, it was obvious that he was one in the progression. Now, if he doesn't win, then we have other plans within the game or within the concept. But he won on I guess 13. He had 13 catches, so he did a great job. And then there were times where they did tilt some coverage stuff to him, and then we were able to go elsewhere with the ball. But their plan was to play man-to-man coverage, and they got some good corners. Obviously, 12 is a very talented guy, and they put him on Alec, and Alec was able to win a number of times. But that's kind of who they are. They're a man coverage team. So that's their identity. That was their plan in the game. And the first half, we didn't win many of those battles. And in the second half, we won quite a few. So it was just kind of a tale of two halves. But it really came down to, football in general. A lot of it's just one-on-one matchups, little battles everywhere over the field. And you try to find favorable matchups as a coach. And obviously that was one that was working for us in the second half.
Troy?
And Coach, by my count, at least as I looked at it, Stanford running backs carried the ball one time in the first quarter and one time in the second quarter on Friday. What did you make of that? Was that part of the game plan going in? And given how UCLA and how strong it's looked against the run at times for much of the year, how much of an impact and what sort of impact could the running backs have potentially on this Saturday against the Bruins?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, when you have a team that is so good against the run, you just can't, forfeit that attack because then they're so good at rushing the passer. It really limits or it opens up really opportunities for them to blitz you and do different things. So you got to be able to run the football, and you got to continue to run the football. Now, if you get behind, obviously that becomes more difficult. So it was, like last week, we were able to still run it a little bit because we got back in it in the third quarter. But you want to stick around, you want to be close score wise so that you can continue to run. And even if, you're not hitting big runs, if you can just hit some 4, 5, 6 yarders, it'll slow down some of the things they do defensively. So, we always go into the game with the intent to find a way to run the football. And it always makes it a lot easier. And then sometimes you're just not able to run it. You got to find a way to score points.
Thank you. Kevin?
Coach, as a play caller, did you feel like you kind of got in a groove yourself this past weekend and something that you personally could build off of? Obviously, the team played well, but maybe you took something from that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think when players are making plays, the plays look really good, and if they're not, then they don't look like great calls. So it always comes down to the players in the game. We try to come up with a plan, and then you try to adjust as a coach. But that's all them. That's Alec and Ash and the O-line, the wide receivers. I mean, I wasn't doing anything extraordinary. That was just those guys really making great plays. And, you try to give them opportunities if they're in matchups and things like that. But that's just really those guys doing fantastic things.
Thank you. John?
Coach, back to the defensive side of the ball, I'm with you that those first 2 stops in the second half was a setup for the momentum and the snowball. And I thought Coach April, I don't know if the Colin blitz was on one of those 2, but Mitch Lieber was back there at some time. So it's clear that your defensive coordinator had some ideas and they were executed upon. I'm just curious, when you hired a defensive coordinator, like how did you evaluate schemes and in games? Is he just running it and you're in quiet, or you're offering some input? Because obviously some things he dialed up worked for you early in that second half.
Yeah, no, I have complete confidence in our defensive staff. They're completely responsible for game planning, the calls. Even though if I see something, I'll in a game, I'll give it to them. But I mean, it's their deal, and they're really good at it. So I trust them. But yeah, no, they did a great job, great preparation, a couple of nice adjustments in the second half, and then our guys just really are resilient. Like I've said, they continue to compete and stepped it up. And like you said, I think the early stops. I mean, if we can't get them off the field early in the third quarter, the clock runs down, and even if we're able to score, it's probably not going to be a game. But we got early stops that were able to translate that in. We converted in the red zone just about every time, I think, in the second half. So those were we knew going in, we were going to have to convert in the red zone touchdowns because they're just an explosive offense.
Ben?
Just in general, what is it like being a part of an historic comeback like this as a coach? Just you hear about these legendary comebacks like Bills, Oilers in '93, Vikings, Colts a couple years back. This is the largest comeback in school history, but what is it like to not just like read about these comebacks, but actually like be a part of it and be the head coach going through that? Yeah.
It is it's one of those things when you have such a rough first half, you're pretty demoralized, obviously, but you're still a competitor and you're trying to figure out a way to get back in it. And then when you start creeping back into it, and you make some plays and you realize you're in a game, then you're like, it's all strategy and you're thinking of the next call and the next thing you're going to do and managing the clock and all those things. And then you get, and you're really just kind of in it. And then, when they set up for the field goal, I had a pretty good idea he would make it. But then after, it goes up, I always just check for flags, and then it hits you. You're like, wow, we just pulled that off. That's amazing. And so you're really not thinking about any of those magnitudes, especially if you're a play caller. You're just so ingrained in making the call and the next call and what you're going to do if you get the ball and where's the ball going to be and how much time's left, that you're not thinking of the magnitude. But then, once it goes through and the game's over, then it all kinds of hits you, and then you just enjoy watching everybody being so happy. And then you try to breathe it in as much as possible because you realize how unique it is to be able to come back on the road. And so it is significant. It's one of those things that, you'll remember your entire life. I mean, I've coached a lot and played in a lot of games, and I don't remember all of them, but that is one that I personally will remember. And just doing it with a bunch of guys that you really admire and love, it makes it really special.
We're going to take 2 more questions. Troy?
You've also seen a lot of great grabs, I'm sure, over the course of your football career as well. Where does Alec's headhunter grab kind of rank amongst the greats that you've seen?
I've seen the start of that quite a few times, where you have it be the ball kind of behind the person, but it usually, very rarely he's able to maintain it. So when I saw it, I was like, wow, it was a great catch. And then I was like, is he going to be able to finish it? And that was what really made it remarkable. So that's as good as catch as I've ever been a part of. And it had a great angle, it was right there on our sideline in the corner. So it was amazing. You come up and you hope you're going to get one-on-one, and you get the right leverage and all that. And so I had a pretty good idea that he was going to get the ball the way they were lined up and what they were doing. And Ash did a great job of holding the safety with his eyes, and then the rest is on Alec. But they did a good job protecting the quarterback, and it was a phenomenal play.
John?
Coach, we can't have this session without talking about your kicker, who made the kick under pressure to get you to overtime and then makes the kick to win it in overtime. I'm not going to mention 1988 and Robbie Keane, who's a similar kind of great kicker, but my question is broader. You talked a lot about resilience and about guys not too high, not too low. Your kicker may be the poster boy for that, but have you been surprised how many guys in this roster seem to have that? I mean, maybe credit to Coach Shaw or whatever. Have you coached to that? I mean, has that been a kind of a something maybe you didn't anticipate when you got here, or kind of speak to
Yeah,
that?
I think, yeah, I do think you got to credit Coach Shaw. I mean, he recruited these guys and built the culture and maintained it. And that's really his persona. You know, I don't know David very well. I just have a lot of respect for him and know the type of person he is. So he is always a guy that was the same guy, it seemed to me, the demeanor wise. So I think your team, I really do believe your team takes on the head coach's personality over a period of months or years or whatnot. So yeah, I think you first need to give him credit for bringing that in and then instilling that, and then obviously you talk about these guys. These guys just have great character. I mean, I don't think I've seen a group of young men that have that are so resilient, so mentally tough. And mental toughness is not. We're not talking about fist fights and pushing and posturing. We're talking about able to be focused and consistent. And rise to the occasion in spite of a lot of things going against you. That's really mental toughness. And our guys always come in with a great attitude and being tenacious and resilient. And then, I mean, the other thing that you notice if you're really watching our sideline and our guys is how they encourage one another. I mean, you know, when Alec dropped the ball or Josh misses a kick, I mean, they're right there encouraging one another. And that's huge because they really do. We talk about sticking together in games, and they did a great job in that. And then Josh, he's just incredible. I mean, his preparation, how focused he is, you can just count on him. You know, even you're not going to make every kick. It's not going to happen. So even if he misses one, I always know he's going to make the next kick and he's going to give us a shot. So. I mean, not many people make one of those kicks in their lives. He made two of them, you know, one with the clock running out and then one in overtime, which basically is the last play. So you make two of those in one game. He misses either of those kicks, and you know, we're not talking a lot about the game.
Thank you all so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Now you can hear me. We have wide receiver Bryce Fowler. We'll take questions in the same way we took them for coach. And John, you're up first.
Bryce, tell us about the touchdown reception. I know it probably felt good to get in the end zone with a pass reception. Tell us about the play, the Ashton throw, and the DB looked to me like maybe he could have got a hand in your line of vision. Tell us about that play late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was just, you know, play Coach Taylor drew up earlier in the week. Didn't know if we were going to get to it. We had the opportunity in the situation that we wanted to run the play in. We actually wanted to run it from the opposite hash, but got to it from that side of the field. Ashton got hit as he was throwing, told me he was just going to lob it up. Made a great throw, easy catch for me. Honestly, it's all on the O-line and Ashton for just making that play happen.
Thank you, John. Troy?
Yeah, Bryce, just take us inside the locker room in the immediate aftermath of that game. What was the mood? What were guys feeling like? I'm sure that was a pretty happy plane ride back to the Bay as well. Just take us through the feelings of all the guys in the immediate aftermath of that game.
Yeah, it was electric. Honestly, everyone in there was smiling, yelling, whatever. Just pretty much it was mayhem, but it was controlled and it was super fun, super energetic. Everyone was happy, of course, coaches included, equipment staff, trainers. It was much needed for everybody involved in that locker room.
Thank you, Troy. Ben?
Kind of a cliche question, but how do you maintain belief when you're not 29-0 on the road? And the reason I ask that is especially because it is on the road. A couple of great comebacks have happened that I can think of: Bills, Oilers in '93, and Vikings, Colts. But I was looking at those; those were both come back by the home team. I mean, to do that on the road, just talk about what is the key to maintaining that belief.
Yeah, we always talk about it. It doesn't matter any of the outside influences. It just matters the people in this room. And our team stayed true to that. You know, we kept it to ourselves on the sidelines, just kept believing in each other, kept typing each other up, telling each other next play, next play, next play, just chipping away, play by play. Defense made some great plays. And then offense played great complementary football to them. And we were able to, you know, get that comeback on the road. And hearing, you know, the stadium go from very loud to very quiet. There's no feeling I could explain than that.
John?
Bryce, you're making a name for yourself on the jet play, either as a decoy or actually carrying the ball. You got a number of touchdowns. Take us through how you being a part of this was introduced to you. Was it in spring? I mean, I can't recall you doing it the last couple of years, but kind of how you came to be sort of the jet guy and a very productive one.
Well, I like to think of myself as a pretty fast guy, and that helps with getting to the edge. Coach Taylor and Coach Osborne have ran this play before, and I'm just the guy that's lucky enough to run it. So I'm super excited I get to be that guy. I mean, obviously I've gone in the end zone a few times on it. My boys actually back home from high school call me Mr. Jet Sweep now in our group chat, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, it's I'm glad I get to be the guy that does it and gets to impact the game.
Thank you, John. Troy?
Yeah, take us through give us a snapshot of the receiver room right now and the progress that you guys have made individually and as a unit. Obviously, Alec and his monster game. You've had great moments as well. Tiger Bachmeyer with some great moments. Medea Rubin as well. Just kind of take us through the locker room, the wide receiver room right now, and give us your snapshot individually and as a unit.
Yeah, so I guess as a unit first, we got a lot of young guys, all with unbelievable talent. And, as they get more playing time, as they get more opportunities to show that ability, they're going to hone in on it, get better, keep making more plays. The first day I saw Alec step on campus, we were actually running routes with some of the older guys like Mike Wilson and Bryce and Tremaine last year or a few years ago, whatever it was. And when we saw Alec, first like run a route, we were like, yeah, this is a dude that will be in the NFL. He has the body type, he has the mindset, and has all the intangibles. And so when he had that game, no one was shocked about that. I think everyone's seen what he can do and knows what he can do. It was just a matter of time before it came out. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. And then guys like Moody and Tiger, they practice hard as well. Every day they're in there just getting better, working on their stuff. And two unbelievable athletes with completely different skill sets, but they help out the wide receiver room and help out this team tremendously.
Ben?
Your touchdown was the first touchdown that was scored on that sweep. In basketball, sometimes we'll say that once you kind of see a shot drop, and then your other shots will start to follow. Is it the same way where once you just get on the board, that kind of generates a whole bunch of confidence right there? Just talk about how important it was to finally get in the end zone, and how much does just getting in the end zone and getting points on the board generate belief after previously being at a donut?
Yeah, so just from not having any points, obviously breaking the seal feels pretty good. Your confidence goes up a little bit. The team now believes, that, hey, we did it once, we could go out there and do it again. And then obviously being on the 3-yard line, 7-yard line, whatever, and then Alec scoring that long touchdown, I mean, that just boosted everyone's confidence. And I think that's when we all looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we could do this. Yeah, we're going to come back and win this. So never unwavering, but, scoring touchdowns definitely helps us get our minds back to where they need to be.
John?
Bryce, is it a little more exciting for you personally to play UCLA, you being a Southern Californian and in Oaks Christian? I know 2 years ago against UCLA, if I have the game right, you had the long touchdown reception. Talk about your own sort of personal excitement about facing UCLA here this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I used to know a lot of guys on that team. I'm a little bit older now, so a lot of those guys have moved on. But yeah, it's definitely, hometown team. Grew up watching them, grew up going to games. Very excited to play against people that are from the same place as me. And then just, yeah, great opportunity to play against a great team.
Troy?
Yeah, what are your initial impressions of the Bruins when you watch these guys? What sort of things stand out to you?
Their front seven for sure. They got a couple dudes up there that can go, and it's definitely going to present some challenges for us. Nothing that our coaches aren't going to prepare us for and get us ready for. So excited for the challenge in front of us and excited for the opportunity.
Ben?
Just from a mental standpoint, I know you guys have taken this, 1 week season mentality all the way through the season. But what is the key to maintaining that focus and maintaining that attitude after pulling off such an historic win? How do you find a way to, enjoy that moment, memory bank it, make sure you never forget that, but at the same time, make sure you are able to, okay, let's move on, focus on the next game. Just mentally, how do you go about kind of doing that as a team?
Yeah, so our coaches do a great job of reminding us not to get too high, not to get too low. Coach Taylor says it all the time. You try to stay steady, like a flat line. For us, our schedule kind of lets us move on to the next games because Mondays we have off. So this week was a little different, but Sunday we got to enjoy our win. Then Monday as well. And now games in the rear view, and we're just focusing on the Bruins.
Thank you. John?
Bryce, with this question, I'm not asking you to comment on the past staff, but just for this year and the way practice goes, we understand it's faster. We've seen it with our own eyes watching your practices. Have you seen a translation into your game, your routes, the plays that you make on the field, whether in the return game or from scrimmage?
Definitely. Yeah, I think the whole team and whole roster is more in shape, and that's not slighting anyone. That's just the way we practice now. Definitely can feel better during games when we get into those situations where we have to go hurry up. Still, the elevation up there was kind of rough, but we were able to do it. Obviously, we had a 99-yard drive to tie the game, send it to overtime, and you can't do too much subbing during those times. So the way we practice definitely has prepared us for moments like that. And in the future, we'll be ready for those moments again.
We'll wrap this up with Troy.
Yeah, Bryce, last time I checked and the last time I saw and looked, it looks like there might be another member of the Farrell household playing for Stanford here in the very near future. How cool is that? How cool could that potentially be?
Yeah, I mean, that's I think every big brother's dream is to play with their younger brother. And fortunately for both of us, we have a great relationship. Love that kid to death. So excited to see him finish out his high school career and then see what he does in college. And if I get to be alongside him for even just one of those years and, kind of mentor him, help him get the reins a little bit, that's the best thing I could ask for, just coming from a family's perspective. And yeah, I'm super, super stoked that this kid gets to do that. And I'm super excited to, be there for him.
All right. Thank you so much, Bryce.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce.
All right. We are back with Alec Gilman. We will take questions same way we've been taking them before. Troy, you're up first.
All right, Alec, just take us through the interception as you remember it to set up the game-winning field goal.
I mean, they came out in a formation that we kind of knew what we were getting all week. but I think the play call came in just a little late. There was a little bit of confusion. And actually on that play, I was supposed to be blitzing the B gap. I wasn't even supposed to be in coverage, but we got the play in a little late, and it looked like they're about to snap the ball, and I would have had to adjust to the field, and the nickel would have had to come back to the boundary and find the slot. And at that point, we just looked at each other and just said, you know what, let's just play man coverage. The coverage in the back end was man coverage anyways. So we just looked around and kind of just nodded to each other and made the faces like, all right, well, let's just lock up, because we don't have time to adjust this formation. Then they ran the mesh concept, and Lance Kennelly actually did a great job. He was supposed to be on the rush with nothing taking him off. He wasn't supposed to peel, but he felt that the running back was free, and he ended up peeling with him, which was honestly, I think, the biggest part of that play. None of my interception wouldn't have happened if Lance didn't do that, because he was the first read, and it would have been a touchdown straight off the bat. So Lance took the running back, they ran the mesh and everything, and then scramble drill developed. And at scramble drill, you just have to do your best to stay on your man. And Lance again was in the corner running around with Dylan Edwards, who's the best athlete on the field. Dude can run and is really quick and shifty. And Lance was huddling him in the corner, doing his best to stay with him. And it literally just all came down to everybody kind of playing off each other, just trusting each other at that moment, because the play was a little broken from the start. And then once I saw the ball thrown at me, I just turned my head and saw it coming straight down and made sure to jump as high as I could if there was a contested ball from Travis Hunter. But it all worked out from top to bottom. And everyone, I feel like, just at that moment, I feel like we had the chemistry, and it was time for us to have a little bit of luck when it came to figuring the down out and just living through it and ending the series like that.
Thank you. John?
You know, I second that, Alakai, because you contained Sanders, your guys up front contained him, so that sort of forced him to backpedal. My question is, can you give us some idea of what it was like walking off the field at the end of the first half, and what it was like for you milling around the field after Josh made the field goal to win the game? Just, I mean, maybe the feelings weren't the same because you guys are not too high, not too low, but I imagine going in the locker room 29-0, you're kind of thinking, what is going on? And then after Josh makes the field goal, you're probably so happy that you're maybe half numb. So kind of, was there much of a difference, or kind of, can you get your head back to what the end of those two halves were like?
I mean, yeah, obviously after you win a big game like that, coming into the locker room after the game is going to be a lot different. You're going to definitely be stoked and happy about what you just put on tape in that second half. But coming off the field in the first half, I mean, we weren't trying to get too down on each other. We also were just there to look at each other in the eye and have a kind of a come to Jesus talk about, hey, what are we doing wrong? I can speak for the defense, and on the defensive side of the ball, we just kind of huddled up and looked at each other and said, yo, like, we are guaranteed 12 opportunities a year, 12 days a year that we're guaranteed to play the game of football. And we literally work, if you think about it, 365 days a year for 12 days. We put that into perspective and told everybody that if we play this thing one play at a time, and we take everything, we don't take anything for granted, and we're grateful for each opportunity, we're going to come out with this win. We're going to do our best to chip at the score, and play complementary football as a team, which I think we really did. But yeah, the feelings were definitely different in terms of first half and second half coming off into the locker room.
Ben?
Colorado ran that slow mesh a bit. You guys are familiar with that because your offense ran that last year, so you would have obviously practiced against it. Did it help at all that you had kind of practiced against it last year, given that that was part of the offensive scheme for you guys last year, or not necessarily?
Definitely helped. I mean, seeing it a handful of times before you actually see it in the game is important, and that's where practice comes in. But I think our coaching staff now has done a great job of preparing us for those looks, and all week in film we were looking at certain formations, and when we see a certain formation, a snug formation where we know what's coming, we know the mesh is about to develop. So definitely going against our offense helped, but preparing throughout the week, and our coach is doing a great job of helping us recognize that.
Troy?
Yeah, what have you seen from Colin Wright and around Manley on the outside? And we've also seen a couple games with Jay Sean in the mix as well. What have you seen from those guys throughout the course of the season, and how much has their play been able to impact what you're able to do?
I mean, in our defense, in our coverages, having elite corners is really important because you expect a lot out of them for them to be able to cover the deep routes, but also make stops in the run or cover two guys at once type of thing. And outside, Colin and Zarn have been doing a great job. Both of them have shown strides in certain areas that maybe they felt that they need to work on, or coaches felt that they needed to do better. And I think they're doing their best in being diligent in every day, figuring out what they need to do to improve on those things. And I'm super proud of them, and also super proud of Jay Sean coming in, stepping up as a true freshman and taking on a role at nickel, which isn't the easiest role to take on. It has to do with a lot of communication. You have to be a big communicator, and you have to understand football really well. And he's coming along really well, and that guy is going to be somebody special to watch this year and years to come. He's going to grow with every game, with every rep, and with every practice. So I'm excited to see more of what those guys put on tape.
John?
This week, UCLA comes in with a couple of physical runners. I know you guys go by numbers, we go by names, but Carson Steele, seems like high knee sort of tries to pound through the levels, and one of the quarterbacks, Colin Schlee, kind of a physical runner. In your role, are you thinking, okay, tackling's we got to be more on point on tackling? What is it like preparing for a team like this that can be a little bit more physical in the run game?
I mean, first, up front, we got to do our best to be gap sound and have integrity in our gaps. And that's at every level, not just the D line or the linebackers. It also comes from the DBs. We're heavily involved in the run game, and going against hard runners. I mean, the best thing you can do for a team that runs the ball hard is swarm the football. And we got to do a great job of swarming the ball, getting guys on the ground with multiple hats on the ball.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, so I was kind of doing double duty Friday night, doing volleyball and also watching your game at the same time. And I told some of the volleyball players, flossing the score, you guys are coming back, and they were all pretty excited to see what was unfolding. Just kind of talk about the reaction you've gotten across campus from both students and also other athletes. Just what has kind of the comments been from the campus community at large from what you guys did?
I mean, a lot of them they express that they are happy for us first and foremost, being that we haven't had the most success, and doing something like that, coming back from that much of a deficit and coming back in double overtime to win the game is super cool, and it's exciting for us as a team. And others have expressed how they're excited for the momentum that we have coming into the back half of the season. And at the end of the day, it's cool to see the support around campus and seeing other student athletes or just other students, maybe even professors who congratulate and wish us well for the rest of the season.